What's up, guys? Name's Kodai Tonaka. I'm what they call a master briscuteer, and I'm gonna kind of go into detail today about the art of briscuteering and what you need to make a brisket and different ways you can prepare it. So we'll go right into the get-go. What is brisket? The brisket is a cut of meat from the cow. The brisket is a cut of meat from the cow that has fibers and tendons in it, and meat and muscles and blood. And what you want to do is you want to get all that blood out before you go any further with your brisket, which is a cut from the back of, which is a cut from a cow, a beef brisket, which is why it's called beef, because it's from a cow. Beef that is typically extracted from cows, and it's called a brisket because it's the brisket cut of a cow. So now that that's out of the way, we can go on to the advantages of brisket. What does a brisket have to offer that maybe another piece of beef, which is from a cow, then what does a beef brisket have to offer from a cow that other pieces of beef from a cow don't have to offer? And we can go into that right now. Remember how I mentioned earlier, for those taking notes at home, about the tendons and the fibers? That is that those break down in the cooking process, which we'll talk about later. The cooking process of a brisket. So the beef tendon fibers and the beef meats and the tendon fibers break down in the cooking process of the beef brisket, and create this wonderfully marbled beef brisket with tendons and marbles. And the typical way of preparing a beef brisket is you take the beef brisket and you put it in a pickling spice, and you pickle the beef brisket in a salt and cure it, and then you boil or smoke your beef brisket depending on what type of beef brisket you want. So, for example, pastrami is a smoked beef brisket. Corned beef is a boiled beef brisket. And those who like barbecue beef brisket, you're wrong. Click off the video. It's disgusting. Barbecue sauce is disgusting. Grilling a beef brisket is disgusting. Smoking a beef brisket is only acceptable if it's a beef brisket pastrami. Other than that, we'll go on to the what does a beef brisket have to offer? The beef brisket is a piece of beef from a cow that it has lots of tendons and fibers in it. So when you take the beef brisket and you have a beef brisket and you cook it down, you get lots of marbling, which is where the tendons and the fibers are in the beef brisket. And people say, oh, I don't like the beef brisket because it's a lot of tendons and fibers. That's probably because they're grilling it, and it doesn't give that tendons and fibers time to break down in the beef brisket into whatever they break down into. In the end of the day, if you cook a beef brisket right, you get a much better beef brisket than if you grilled it, if you prepare it the right way. So a final beef brisket technique that I like to use is eating the beef brisket. When you eat the beef brisket, if you put mustard on the beef brisket and put the mustard beef brisket on a piece of rye bread, you have a beef brisket sandwich with mustard, and it's very delicious, and it's a good application for it. Some people like to use beef brisket as a paperweight. I, as a master briscuteer, strongly disagree with the act of using a beef brisket as a paperweight or any other sort of weight. If you're lifting beef brisket in the gym, that may be good for your health, but is not good for the brisket or the briscuteer that prepared the brisket. Briskets are often hung up on brisket racks and hung to dry in a brisket furnace, where then they are smoked as briskets and created into beef brisket pastrami. My name is Kodai Tonaka, Master Briscuteer, and this has been Cooking Brisket with the Beef Brisket Master, Kodai Tonaka, Master Briscuteer. Signing off. Thank you. Where's the off button? There it is.